Ralph C. Wilson, Jr., Michigan Grantee Webinar, June 25th, 2019.
Routine.
We're recording now.
Okay, this is the Ralph C. Wilson, Jr. Michigan Grantee Webinar, June 25th, 2019. And go ahead to the first slide, Greg. So this webinar is something that we're doing under our work with the Ralph Wilson Jr. Foundation. And we know that you all are grantees of either the Wilson Foundation or the Community Foundation of Southeast Michigan with some legacy Wilson funds. Our hope for today is that you all find some interesting things from each other and some learnings and practices and connections that you can share, as well as some challenges and some of the experiences you had in your programs or are still having. Some of you are still ongoing. Questions can come at any time after each presenter. There are 3 slides. I think a couple of you might have 4 slides. And then there'll be additional time for discussion and questions at the end. So we hope to have this session be very interactive and for you to have a chance to get to know each other a little bit and make these connections. So thank you all for attending. Let's go to the next slide. So we're going to hear first from, well, I guess we're not. I don't see the Alzheimer's Association attending. We'll circle back to them once, hopefully, they're able to join. We'll hear first from the United Methodist Retirement Communities, Lisa French and her colleagues. They have a Wilson Foundation grant that their project is called Heart of the Home. And then we'll hear from Dr. Paula Duran, whose project is called Universal Dementia Care. And I know that the Community Foundation for Southeast Michigan was supporting that. And I know that you've been diligently finding other support and continuing your work. So we're curious to hear how that's all going, Dr. Duran. So we'll have to skip ahead a few slides, but if we can go ahead to the slide that's called Heart of the Home, it should be about 4 slides in.
A great name.
Yes. Thank you. And now I will turn it over to Lisa and her crew.
Hi, thank you so much for having us today. I'll just start a little bit of an introduction and I'll turn it over to Laura Karl, who is working more closely with the actual project. Heart of the Home, for us, we're doing an action-packed culture change model, providing training for our caregiving staff at our Kresge Healthcare and Rehabilitation Center. We're in the midst currently of renovating and expanding our Kresge Center to provide private rooms for all of our residents, both long-term and our short-stay guests that live at Kresge Center. That gives you just a little background. I'll go ahead and hand it over to Laura.
Okay. Do they switch the slides? Or...
Do you want to switch the slide? Please. Thank
you. Well, hi, I'm Laura Karl. I'm the Assistant Administrator at Kresge, which is the skilled nursing facility here at Chelsea Retirement Community, and we are a United Methodist Retirement Community. I've been with UMRC for a little over a year. I was a per diem MDS nurse for a short time, and then I was a unit manager, and I've been in my current assistant administrator position for about 3 months maybe. So, and at UMRC, we're building on a foundation of more than 113 years of service. We promote the wellness, dignity, and independence of older adults by providing high quality and innovative residential and supportive services. So the Kresge Healthcare and Rehab Center has a 5-star rating from CMS. We're working with Action Pact, which is a culture change organization, and it is recognized for developing the household model, which a household is a small group of residents living within a physically defined environment that feels like home, which it always includes a kitchen, which has a wide variety of food. So at any time, the residents should be able to go in and get basically whatever they want. And they should be able to get it on demand. And breakfast made to order every morning. You know, and the household also always includes a dining room, a living room, and then the ideal is to always have cross-trained permanent staff that will always work in the same household so they can really get to know the residents. So Action Pack's culture change model transforms institutional living environments for frail elders into warm, pleasant households or friendly neighborhood. And then Action Pack provides assistance with design, development, consultation, and training to transform the organizational structure and household operations. This results in the residents being able to direct their own lives, being able to experience daily pleasures, and being able to continue to live with meaning and purpose. On one of our Action Pack's visits here, our staff received training on Person First, which focuses on knowing the person as a person and honoring that person. During Person First training, we did a daily pleasures exercise, which really brought home to all of us how everyone has that one thing that they don't want to live without. You know, some people it's that cup of coffee, morning coffee, or coffee all day long. You know, sometimes it's being able to go outside for a walk every day, or just watching a certain television show. You know, everyone has that one thing that they really don't want to live without. And Person First emphasizes valuing all individuals, no matter what their abilities or disabilities. It considers the residents' habits, routines, practices when providing support and care. And it teaches the caregivers to put the resident before the task. You know, lots of times things are so task oriented. You know, we go from one task to another. We got to get all of our beds made. We got to get everybody fed. And, you know, and I've been in this business for 30 years. And back when I started as a CNA in 1988, when I was still a teenager, but, you know, that's, you know, we would get everybody up. We'd line them up in the hall, and then we'd take them out and help them eat. Then we'd bring them back to the rooms, toilet them, you know, put them back to bed or whatever, take them to bingo or whatever the activity was. And things just aren't like that anymore. You know, now it's much more resident choice. That's what we really want everyone to be able to live their best life, I guess, you know. So that we want all the decisions to begin with the resident. That's what our goal is. And my contact information is listed at the bottom of that slide. So I guess we can go to the next slide. Unless you guys have... So as far as challenges that we've encountered, it's been a little tricky scheduling the Action Pack consultants' visits to our community. The consultants come from different areas of the country. Mainly they're, I think, based in Milwaukee and in Kansas. And so when they do come, you know, they come for 2 days. It's always a 2-day training. And so having their scheduling and then being able to schedule enough staff to be able to go, you know, because then we have to cover the floors and all the different departments. Someone usually comes from all the departments. And they're usually attended by about 15 to 20 employees from multiple departments, including our steering team, of course. And at Kresge, you know, right now in our building, we're undergoing major renovations in construction, and we're doing it in phases. And currently we're in stage 3 out of 5. And as our construction is being completed, our residents are being relocated to other wings in our building. And so it's just having, and upon completion, each resident will have their own private room and their own personal bathroom and shower area. So that's really exciting. But arranging the training dates for Action Pack to come, and then arranging that around all of our construction dates and moving the resident rooms, and, you know, because construction dates can change sometimes. So it's a little challenging, but through prioritizing and planning and preparation, we've been able to, you know, make the program and training possible. And we did have a glitch a couple of weeks ago where the Action Pack trainer was going to come for a couple of days, but then one of her close friends passed away in the mountains hiking in India in the Himalayas. So, you know, so that was all scheduled when we found out the night before, and then we had to cancel everything and then reschedule it for coming towards a few more weeks in July. She'll be coming. So we're making it work. Okay, so we can switch the slide again. So the Action Pack model emphasizes that creating a warm household model must begin with culture. Staff at all levels and positions are key in creating a self-led team and improving the lives of residents. We did learn that the physical environment is secondary to changing the culture and creating a home environment for residents and short-term guests. Several of us have had the opportunity to travel to Milwaukee to do an intensive 4-day training. And there were people from all different parts of the country there, from different communities. And some of them are all they have to work with is their traditional institutionalized style nursing home, you know, where you have the long wings. But they're figuring out ways to make it work. But we're lucky enough and fortunate enough to be able to undergo the renovations and create the household environments. So we're very excited about that and very thankful. So our Kresge building will have 2 households created on our 2nd floor, and they will house a total of 27 residents. One household will be made of 18 residents, and then the other household will have 9 residents, and that will be the memory care household. So it'll be smaller, less stimulation for the people that need memory care. All of our staff will undergo the Action Pack training, the Action Pack culture change, and will provide person-centered care to every Kresge long-term resident, whether they're in one of our households or not, and then also for the short-term guests, you know, that come for rehab and then go home. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about our picture of Ruth up there. She's one of our residents, and she's very anxious by nature. Any kind of change kind of throws her for a loop, so to speak. And I was kind of worried about her when we were getting ready to make our room changes. But when she was moved into her new room, she was so excited. It was great. And she isn't one to normally initiate conversations with anyone, but for those first few days after her room move, she was coming up to everyone. Did you see my new room? Have you been to my new room yet? Have you seen it? And then she wants to take you in there and show you around. So I've acted a few different times, like I didn't see it for a few times. So, because she was so excited to show everybody, and she is so proud of it and still loves to show it to everyone. One day I went to her room to talk to her, and she had the door closed, which isn't something she normally does. So I knocked on the door, of course, and she said, "Just a minute, I'll be right there." And it was just, you know, if you know Ruth from before, she never really would interact very much at all. So she loves it there, and she's so happy. Just seeing her smiling like that in the picture is wonderful, because that's just not her. And then I did want to just tell one other quick Action Pack story. One of the concepts that Action Pack teaches is working with community circles, which these allow the staff to get to know the residents better and also to get the residents to know each other better. So on the last time Megan from Action Pack was here, we broke up into smaller groups and had resident community circles. And so everybody ran their circle a little differently, that you could either pose a question or you could just bring up a subject to talk about. And then everyone took a turn going around and talking about it, you know, residents and staff. And then when we met back up afterwards, one of our Cenas, who's been here for over 20 years, made the comment, "I've learned more about the residents in the last hour than I've learned in the last 20 years. So that's just a small example, or one example of how impactful this Action Pack, this whole culture change is being for us. And we're just very excited and thankful that we have this wonderful opportunity to work with Action Pack and get our culture changed.
Thank you so much. We're really grateful to the Ralph C. Wilson Foundation for helping make that happen.
Wonderful.
That's a great story.
True story.
You might have her say that to a video so you can start the next one with that comment.
Oh, we should. She probably, I think she'd be agreeable to that.
Yeah. Good. Well, I have a question for our Kresge crew. Many times when a family helps a loved one that they've been caring for move into a long-term care facility, or in your case, a home, because this is home now, there's a sense that the family is no longer the caregiver and the staff becomes the caregiver, but really families, for the most part, you know, stay involved and are just doing a different kind of caregiving. Have you gotten much reaction from family caregivers to the changes that you're undergoing?
we have, I mean, the families, they all love the new rooms, you know, they're modern. We definitely were in need of a facelift in our Kresge building. I'm not sure when the last time it was renovated. I don't have any idea, but you can tell it's been a while just by looking at the decor. But no, the family, everybody is very positive. There was one hiccup. We had one married couple who live on our second floor, and all of our rooms are private now. So they are in separate, they're in rooms side by side now. Their daughter was very supportive of this because actually the husband tends to keep his wife awake a lot at night anyway, because he's always up and down, and he's very hard of hearing, and he can't see very well either. So he was always like asking her questions and stuff. So that's still kind of, they're still working out that, because he's still, because they both are in the memory care area also. So him especially, he's having a hard time processing all that and like figuring it all out. But the daughter is very supportive of that, and it seems actually to be going better than I was expecting. So, but all in all, our families have been very supportive, and a lot of them have picked what color of room they want, because we have 3 different paint colors on the walls. So as much as possible, we've been accommodating to that. Some of them wanted to move to the first floor. Some wanted to stay on the second floor. We have one from the first floor who's very independent, but he wants to move to the second floor because that's where the majority of our activities are. And he's getting tired of riding that elevator all the time. Even though he does it all by himself, he has to wheel over there and he has to push the button. And he just doesn't want to have to deal with that. So his daughter didn't want him to move, but I think we've convinced her that it's his choice. You know, he's learning, he wants to be on the second floor. Let's let him be happy. And she's like, oh, he needs the exercise. I'm like, does he? You know, he's in his 80s or late 80s, I believe. So let's let him be happy. And it's really his decision.
Great. Other questions about this really interesting culture change endeavor?
I think it's exciting. I was wondering, you know, in most homes, there's a certain amount of dysfunction. You know, people have to make room for the person who is, you know, too picky or too nasty or whatever. But we're bound together by ties of family. How do you handle the ordinary frictions of daily life when you try to make it more home-like?
Well, since we're only in the 3rd phase of our construction. So right now we have because we have 2 floors here at Kresge, and each floor has 3 wings. So only 1 wing on each floor is done. And the wing on the second floor that is done is going to be the memory care household. It's not really a household yet, because like our common spaces aren't done. We don't have the kitchen ready or anything. So basically right now we aren't really to the household part yet. But I think that the majority of the staff know the residents well enough. We know right now we just have a couple of different day rooms, and there's we know the ladies that like to sit together and maybe watch TV. We know a couple of gentlemen that we probably shouldn't put in the same room because they're not going to probably get along for very long. So the staff pretty much know that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see though as we go along.
Yeah, well, sounds like a household.
This is Paula. Thank you very much for that sharing. I think it's a wonderful process and program you have. Is there anything like what you're doing in the Detroit area?
Well, there is a greenhouse model. For example, I know at our Rivertown neighborhood in Detroit, UMRC isn't actually a partner in that, but two of our other partners in that whole neighborhood do take part in are the ones that manage the greenhouse model. So that's similar. It's a similar philosophy, I guess, of putting that person first. And there may be others. I think we're one of the very few in our region, though.
There are some.
I think the closest place using Action Pact to us is like the Fort Wayne area, is what we heard when we went to our training.
There are some greenhouses in Livonia, maybe in Redford, I believe. And the greenhouse model grew out of originally the same folks who developed the Eden alternative, then developed the greenhouse model. And greenhouse includes physical differences like a small number of residents, I think 10 or maybe it's 12 now, are in one area. They have a living room, kitchen, dining room, sort of a big room that looks much more like a regular house, regular home, and a number of differences. And then actually Altarum is involved in a project that is bringing the Eden alternative curriculum, which is different than Action Pact, but aims at the same outcomes of being person-centered and individualized day-to-day life. And we're working with Martha Teaberry in Macomb County, which isn't Detroit, but that's the closest one we have to Detroit. And we're also working with 5 other homes that are more on the western side of the state through that project. So there's various efforts undergoing. It's, as I'm sure our Kresge colleagues can tell you, there are quite a lot of challenges, and it's a big commitment. So a place has to, an organization has to be really ready to invest some elbow grease and hard thought work and changes in the way you think about care too.
Just another question about how do your residents pay? Is that personal dollars? Is that Medicaid, Medicare? How are your residents dollars?
All of the above.
All of the above. Great. Thank you.
Okay, and any other questions on the Action Pact work at Kresge?
Sounds great.
Just save me a room.
Yeah.
We'll put you on the list.
All right, let's move on to Dr. Paula Duran and her work in universal dementia care.
Hello, everyone. As indicated, I'm Paula, and I've been at this work probably about 3 years now. I'm a psychologist by training, but if you change the slide, I want to show you how I got into this work. I'm a counseling psychologist by training, and what happened is, I guess I didn't put your picture in. I was trying to keep to the rule of slides. Both of my mom and dad had dementia-related diseases. And as a result of that experience, because I stopped working for about 4 years to just become a full-time caregiver. And I guess I thought I was really smart until I actually started doing the work. And in the process of doing the work, I learned just how much I didn't know about care. So we started Universal Dementia because I had a hard time finding support that I needed. I had a difficult time finding people who were sensitive to the cultural issues that were part of our lives, and decided we could do it ourselves. So what we designed is a training program. Initially started, it was entitled My Lights Are Going Out, But It's Not Dark in Here. And then it has grown to a place where it's called a caregiver's partnership through dementia. So basically we train our caregivers in a full day format, or we have a monthly lunch and learn. So we do boot camps as well as lunch and learns. And the program we designed has been approved by Wayne State, and it's also available for continuing ed credit for nurses and social workers. And we focus a lot on, my thinking is, if we can reduce the stress level of the caregiver in the process of teaching them about dementia, we then will make sure that they provide better care to the loved one living with the disease. So most people would say, well, you're not really caring for the loved one with the disease. I am. I'm caring for the caregiver, which is really the one who does not take care of themselves on a regular basis. And we wanted to make sure they were ready to go into the room and provide support. That's a picture of one of our lunch and learns, and this young woman's mom, I have to be honest, she was allowing her mom to drive her crazy. And the stress level was so high that she came to me after one of our sessions, and now she follows us. Even though she's gone through most of the training, she just follows us and has become a volunteer and brings mom. So I really appreciate that relationship that's being developed in the community. And you could change that. So our goal is to train as many people as we can. And the lunch and learns, the topics go from My Family Won't Help to understanding the stages of dementia. And most people don't really know the disease, and in terms of that I meet on a daily basis, understand the disease, the stages of disease. We're person-centered. We focus on the individual needs of the caregiver, who then focuses on the individual needs of the loved one with the disease. Our starting process was just establishing relationships, because our experience with communities of color is that consistency is really important, and that a drop in, a drop by doesn't work in any long-term way. So we've been building relationships with organizations, and individuals and attempting to, and providing training for some organization staffs. One of the things that's been really funny for us is that you have to be a caregiver to attend our boot camps. And we're doing a boot camp this weekend. I have more staff members from various groups saying, I want to attend. Well, invite us there and we'll train your staff, but it's not part of my grant to train your staff. So that's always a compliment, but also a challenge to turn people down. This past year, we serviced over 1,000 people, lunch and learns, boot camps, conferences, health fairs, and our program has been approved by Wayne State for continued ed credit. We are now writing a licensing agreement with one of the major providers of care to seniors in this area, where we will train their staff to do our program within their organizations. And we're always looking for ways to improve. And one of my ongoing learnings is, I was writing this up in my summary for the Foundation summary report that's due next month, is that I'm always challenged that people this business feels very territorial. I'm I'm not part of this community normally, so it feels territorial. So I'm working hard to establish relationships and see that there's an abundance of work and opportunity. And I think there's an abundance of dollars. You just have to figure out how to get them. So we do, the question was asked earlier in terms of our funding. We're being funded by Wayne State. We have a grant with Wayne State. We have a grant with the Community Foundation. We're getting ready to do a licensing agreement with this organization. We provide support, individual support, because our training follows, in addition to training, our next step is we train you, and we have identified a vendor that will provide respite care while they're in training, which has been a major problem that many loved ones have had who want to come to training. So our new relationship has been established. We'll see if the proposal goes through, that they will be provided with respite care in the home while the loved one comes, while the caregiver comes to the training session. And in addition, we also do a 30 to 60 day follow-up with folks who are willing to do that, because we want to make sure knowledge has been transferred. That, as you know, many training sessions people go to and they thought they were good or they got their credit. You're not sure that you added any value. So 30 to 60 days, we do a follow-up in the home to find out how people are doing, if there are any other issues that they're experiencing. So that's what we do. I'm excited to be doing it. I'm having a ball. I feel like I've careered because I said I did most of my work in organizations with change management work, culture change, which I thought was fascinating. I'm loving the fact that's what you're doing. And now we're in the process of bringing that knowledge into this arena, into the caregiving arena. I think that's all. One more slide.
Okay.
Something's reinforced. Yes, the question. Caregivers are in great need, under a great deal of stress, and all the research talks about the isolation and depression. Our experience is that's absolutely correct. Respite care is a primary need that folks want to have some affordable opportunities available for respite care. In some of the communities we service, dementia is still viewed as a mental illness. And so you've got to get past the deaf people understanding the disease itself, because in many families, they honor that what's in the house stays at home. And I don't know if your parents ever told you that anything happens in this house, it stays in this house. Well, we want to expose that as much as possible, because if we can expose that, we can educate people that there's some things you could do. The other thing is we've partnered with many of the faith-based communities here, because again, many people of color have a strong, in addition to others, have a strong faith base. And so we've partnered with Triumph Church, which is the largest African-American church in this part of, I think, in the US, but that's what I heard. And we're working with them and a number of the churches, and they provide us with places to have training, places to connect with the audience. So that's the work we're doing. And as I said, we're exploring knowledge transfer to make sure that what people say, what we think they're getting, they're actually getting, and that we can assess that, because we do pre-post assessment on what we receive on our learnings. And then we do knowledge transfer assessment through interviews. And so that's our big focus for the next year, those three elements. And then the very last slide, I just wanted to show you some of the things that we're doing. Our next session is on July, our next Lunch and Learn is on July the 11th, and it's My Family Won't Help, because a lot of caregivers are just mad. No one will help me do this work. Yet when sometimes they get the work, someone will help, they don't want the help. So then we got this whole nother set of issues we have to deal with. I wanted to show you that in the center, we've designed a number of tools that are on market, a caregiver strategy that we offer our 7 caregivers. The tool that we designed has 7 caregiver strategies. We make our loved ones analogous to flowers. And as flowers, we talk about they have a certain time here, they change every day, reinforcing the concept of person-centered care. And so we've designed this tool of which we provide many copies of our materials to the folks that are attending our sessions. And at the top of that same page, we also have another tool that we've designed. It's a tool that I always envision them hanging it on the refrigerator, that if they have a challenging behavior, what they call challenging behavior, they can go into the tool and find some strategies on how to address those issues. But my experience has been, it's usually not the loved one with the disease that's being challenging, it's the caregiver getting in the way of providing care because they want to help so badly. So our first step in the process is to teach them how to just simply be present and in the room. Because if you're present in the room, you have to calm your own energy, your own spirit, in order for you to focus enough on other people. And we just recently did a piece on Detroit TV, public TV, on caregiving on the primary care show, because we are now connecting with African-American physicians because we want to support them in the area of caregiving and help them know that a lot of primary caregivers don't have a clue what dementia is. And we want to provide them with that knowledge and insight. So that's what we're doing, and we're having a ball doing it. Any questions of me?
Paula, you mentioned that you were getting continuing education credit. For which groups of people?
Nurses and social workers. We've been approved for 5.5 hours. We're in the process of now getting 2 other areas. We've learned that a number of nurses and social workers are only looking for an hour. So we're getting an hour format approved, and we're looking at 2 half-day formats versus 1 full day. So we're looking at a variety of opportunities for people to access the learning.
It's terrific.
Thank you.
And you mentioned that you are incorporating follow-up interviews,
Yes.
in part checking the knowledge transfer. Are you finding a pretty good result on the information getting through and being retained?
The biggest thing I've seen so far is that we do a significant piece on self-care.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they walk out of the room saying, I need to take care of myself, that is a strategy that is one step in the right direction. But we then provide with them and go through a variety of ways on the spiritual, emotional, physical, social elements of ways you can care for yourself. So that is a piece that we see happening. I'll have more data on that. Give me another year, because we've received funding from a couple of sources that are supporting that assessment.
Great, sounds very interesting.
Okay, so you've got to say a word about the fundraising dance.
Dancing for Dementia is our fundraiser that's in September the 19th. Dance is one of those activities that stimulates almost every part of your body. And so we wanted to have something fun, and we're going to make this our annual event. And we're at the Robert River Walk Hotel, and if you know the area, it's right off the water, so it's a beautiful scenery. And we're going to teach ballroom and hustle. Next year we're going to teach Latin. So I've got a vision of every year we'll teach a different dance and have it impact those that impact the brain. It will help the loved one, it will help our caregiver relax. And when I have a relaxed caregiver, they provide better care.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Sounds like a great event. Other questions for Paula? Not right now? Okay. Greg, could you pull up that slide deck that I sent you with the email a few minutes ago? Thanks everyone for your patience while we switch our technology around a little bit. There we go. Now we'll hear from Livingston County Catholic Charities. Please take it away.
Yeah, hello, this is Mark Robinson, and I'm joined by 2 co-workers, Julie Amon and Susie Snyder. Susie's the director of our senior programs, and she'll provide the overview.
Okay. Good afternoon. We've received the grant to help support general operations for our three main senior programs at Catholic Charities. The first one being our Be Our Guest Adult Day program, which we are the only adult day program here in Livingston County, providing services for individuals with dementia, Alzheimer's, and cognitive impairment. The program provides cognitive and physical activities to help maintain what abilities they still have. So we provide exercise, word games, music therapy, art therapy, different types of activities like that. We provide both services to the client, obviously, for the socialization and the activity, but for the caregivers, we provide the respite. So they can continue to work, they can run their errands, they can do medical appointments, anything that they need to do knowing their loved one is safe in an environment. We also support caregivers through the disease process. We do have a social worker on our team, and throughout the disease process, as an individual declines, there's always questions, there's always concerns, there's always issues. So we are there to help them through those processes by providing quarterly care plan evaluations involving the caregiver along the way. Our second program is our volunteer caregiver program, which is a complete volunteer-based program. Volunteers provide transportation, friendly visits, and short-term resident visits for individuals. Unfortunately, Livingston County doesn't have the greatest transportation need or transportation available. So the need for this service has definitely been growing for the transportation. Primarily doctor's appointments, grocery shopping, food banks have been the primary requested services. Our third is our resource advocacy program, and this program connects the seniors and caregivers with local, state, and federal resources. Basic needs, which can include food, medications, home repairs, and affordable housing. They also are Medicare, Medicaid assistant program counselors, so they are able to help individuals with the Medicare enrollment, Medicaid enrollment, and any other prescription coverage that they may have. So this program also provides support for both caregivers and for seniors to remain independent in their homes. The second slide. Some challenges that we have had is being the only adult day program in the county. We have had a wait list for the past 2 years. The wait list contains I've had individuals as short as period of time as a week to a month. My goal is always to get that individual in as soon as possible, to at least 1 day a week, and increase services as we are able to do that. Also evaluating what is the need. Do they need to go to work? Do they need to have that respite service just so they can take a nap, depending on the situation, of course. The volunteer caregiver program, we struggle with volunteers. We're always recruiting and looking for new ways to find volunteers. A lot of our volunteers are retired, so they are snowbirds and travel during the winter. So the winter is probably our biggest struggle because we still need to provide those services. And finding the volunteers that are still in the area can be a little challenging for us. So we have been able to increase by 12% this past year our volunteer recruitment, which is great, so that we can provide that service. The resource advocacy program, the need is growing. Unfortunately, Livingston County does not have very great resources for affordable housing. So individuals are struggling with that piece and looking for resources to help money back into their pockets so that they can pay for medication and home repairs and different things like that to remain in their home. So next slide, anything new and unexpected? We are seeing more seniors who are becoming homeless due to financial situations and the housing costs in Livingston County. We unfortunately do not have a lot of nursing facilities with Medicaid beds, and the Section 8 housing is decreasing, being bought out by new companies and no longer offering that to individuals. Families are choosing to keep their caregivers, their loved one at home because of that situation. They can't afford assisted living. They cannot afford the daily nursing home costs. So they are looking to keep their loved one at home as long as possible, and what support services can we do to keep that? And we've seen a huge increase in the number of seniors experiencing financial abuse and scams. Our resource advocates deal with it on a daily basis, unfortunately, and it can be thousands and thousands of dollars that they have lost and don't know where to go because they don't want to tell their family, because their family would think they're not very smart, and should they be safely living at home any longer? So they come to us with that piece. And we work very closely with the prosecuting attorney's office and the sheriff and police departments with that piece. And because they do such a great job, we're the go-to organization. Everybody's learned the services, know what we can provide. So obviously they're reaching out to us to receive those services and how can they benefit from our services. Anything else? No. The funding is provided. Oh, well, I said. Well, and the funding that we received allowed us to just continue but to continue the general operations of all three of these programs, because the two are donation-based, volunteer caregiver and resource advocacy, and the adult day program is a sliding scale fee based on individuals' income. So we try to make that as affordable as possible for caregivers as a respite service that they can afford. It's helped fill that gap to continue to have these services. Any questions?
I had one thought. I'm sure you're probably aware that the Michigan Attorney General has recently convened an elder abuse task force.
Yeah.
And they're holding listening sessions. I don't know if you've attended any of those or had an opportunity to tell some of your stories to that task force, but that might be a useful step for them to get some of the real life experiences that you've witnessed and tried to help resolve.
We did recently learn about the task force. We've unable to attend any of those, but that is on our to-do list coming up next. It is, because we also have an elder abuse prevention program to educate the community, which includes and caregivers and the community at large. So we see it on a daily basis, so obviously want to be involved in everything we can.
Sounds like this is proof of the old, no good deed goes unpunished. Done a great job, and therefore you're getting overwhelmed. Paula, you were about to say something.
Yeah, you probably know that Dr. Peter Lichtenberg has an online program related to financial exploitation. It might be worth, if you have, because it's really a very good program for training, and it would give people opportunities that they didn't have to really expose themselves by going online and reviewing some of the work that he's done. He's done extensive training. We support him with the SAFE program, which is Success After Financial Exploitation. And it's really a great program that offers services to the community with those caregivers that are experiencing any kind of financial concerns, scams, anything related to powers of attorney, just a variety of areas. His group, we partnered with them, and they provide support to the community at large, and a huge online component.
Yes, we are aware of that, and we are actually, one of my staff members just attended a seminar in regards to that. So it's something that's a little new to us, but we are definitely looking forward to working with that program.
Great.
Yeah, it seems that the financial abuse is such a difficult arena to really push to eliminate, because you do want people to stay in control of their assets and what they can do. But boy, some of these scammers are so clever. And
yes, they are. It's odd too, because we've seen a pattern where they've, like Fowlerville, which is one of our smallest communities in the county, they've kind of targeted. It's amazing to see kind of the difference of where they've learned. That's where a lot of the older adults live. So they've focused on that area a tremendous amount. So we've been working with the Fowlerville Police Department very closely on educating the seniors. on that piece.
So where do you see this going?
Well,
Do you see growth or challenges, and what do you see as options for financing?
so yes. There definitely is a need for growth. And what we're trying to do is have not only our senior programs, but the entire organization positioned in a way that we can respond to those best. Each of our senior programs is funded by the Area Agency on Aging 1B, receives partial funding there in varying amounts. So we work very closely with them. We do receive some funding from our local United Way, from Livingston County government. So we're continually looking at those things. And Susie mentioned we are, as an organization, looking at doing a capital campaign to expand our space. If we're successful, we're still probably about 3 or 4 years being able to do that, but we would be able to take on a few thousand more square feet. And our plan is that most, not all of that, will actually be directed towards our senior services. Because we really see that as the area with the greatest identified growth or need in this community for the next several years. I mean, SEMCOG has predicted the over 60 population is going to grow all over Southeast Michigan. And definitely it's the fastest growing population here in Livingston County.
What happens to your seniors who become homeless?
For the most part, they end up needing to look at out-of-county options. There are areas where they can go into neighboring counties where housing is a little bit more affordable, up towards Lansing, some sections of Oakland County, up into Shiawassee County. And that's hard for them because it means leaving friends, churches, other networks that they're connected to. And this is just myself personally. I was visiting one of the local, what we call community meals. It's a free meal one night a week that one of the churches does. And I had a man approach me who'd been living out of a motel for the previous 6 or 7 weeks. And our team here, our resource advocates, were well aware of him, and they had found him something that would fit within his budget, but it was over in Walled Lake, and an apartment more affordable. And he, was real resistant to the idea of leaving his connections here in this community. So it is a struggle, and there's very limited Section 8 or other subsidized housing in the county. We do not have an actual standalone shelter in the county, except for runaways or domestic violence. But for all other populations, if there's a need of shelter, they're able to be put up usually for a few weeks in one of the local motels. And unless there is family that they can get connected with, they almost always end up leaving this community.
And when they move into a motel, they presumably lose all their possessions.
There's always that risk, yes. Definitely furniture and that type of thing.
Yeah.
They lose that.
It's an increasing and grim issue. Health Affairs had an article last month showing that more than half of the middle class will be unable to afford housing in 2029. So housing is going to be right up there with transportation as our unsolvables
About an hour and a half ago, I was listening to a report on Michigan Public Radio that identified affordable housing as one of the most difficult struggles in the state of Michigan. And in this county, and there is a lot of wealth and solid middle class in this county, but what that does is that if you financially struggle, it makes it more difficult. So an apartment here in this county could actually cost $200-300 a month more than if someone lived, say, up in Owasso or in Westland or Garden City. People just don't want to leave their connections.
Sure.
Well, do you have a PACE program in Livingston County? I think there's a couple of zip codes covered by Huron Valley PACE.
Our understanding is that it's primarily Washtenaw.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple corners of the county where the zip codes overlap, down around Whitmore, that area between Dexter, Pinckney, but our understanding is it's a Washtenaw County.
It hasn't come to Livingston fully yet.
No.
Maybe
Valley PACE covers portions of Livingston County, but not completely.
Pardon, could you repeat that?
Huron Valley PACE has portions of Livingston County the participants come from, but not completely covered.
Okay.
So which portions?
Ooh, I don't know. I would have to look it up for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Other questions for Livingston County Catholic Charity, or about any of the projects that we've been hearing about?
If I could just comment, we've been very grateful to be a part of this process. It's helped us a lot. It's helped us as we try to strengthen our service delivery. So we've been very excited.
Do the three teams see any shared concerns that you might work together on or communicate with after these projects are done? You're all in Southeast Michigan, so Medicaid policies and housing policies and so forth affect all of your clients in whatever setting. See anything to connect on?
We recently okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. We recently received a grant to support caregivers, and I would be interested in touch base with Dr. Paula Duran. I can't say that very well. In regards to some of the workshops that you have available, because we are going to be offering those to caregivers in the county and providing free respite for those caregivers to attend.
That sounds like a marriage made in heaven.
It's also wonderful. I am so glad to hear the respite component of that.
Yeah.
Well, we think providing respite is just one more important component of caregiver support.
Right.
So it's training, it's resources, it's respite, it's all of that.
Right.
Great. Well, that's a wonderful idea. You should all have each other's email addresses from the invitation. And if anybody needs help following up, I'm glad to connect you further. Just let me know.
We would look forward to the opportunity of connecting.
Great.
Great.
I think someone in Lisa's crew was going to mention something.
Oh, I was just going to say that I think this might be a great opportunity to come together and advocate for caregivers, since we all know that it is a strain, and professional and unprofessional caregivers alike both have challenges, and that need is only going to increase. So we would look forward to collaborating with someone.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I can share with you that the state of Michigan is about to embark on a study of long-term supports and services workforce that will include probably a relatively small component about unpaid and family caregivers, but the report will be done approximately a year from now, maybe a little over a year. Altarum is doing part of the report for full disclosure. And the point of that is to create some policy recommendations about how to make both the paid and the unpaid caregiver role more workable and sustainable, and how to increase those numbers, because as you all know very well, we have a huge and growing senior population in this state. So
Right.
the needs are not going to go away, they're only going to increase. But as that gets up and going, I'd be happy to share with this group any information that's as it comes out about that study as well.
That would be great.
Okay. Any last discussion points or questions that didn't get talked about yet?
Well,
I think we're all set.
I was going to say, I appreciate learning about the things that are going on. I've gained a good insight today. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
That's the idea. I'm glad. Everyone will get a link, including the grantees who couldn't make it today, will get a link to this recording, as well as a copy of the full PowerPoint slide deck, including the ones that I missed. My apologies to Julie. And we'll also share that feedback with the Southeast Michigan Foundation and the Wilson Foundation, that you all came together and shared your great work. So we appreciate you very much. Look forward to continuing to be in touch with you and to partnering on more and more ways to improve care for our elders. So thank you very much.
Sarah, thank you for pulling this.
Thank you, Sarah.
Absolutely. Have a great afternoon.
Sure.
Bye.